So now my husband is going to come up and do a poem. One of the greatest joys that I had just a couple months ago was to do an evening of poetry with Andrew, and felt like one of those moments. Just a couple days ago, we've been together now for 20 years. Like, August 4th was our little anniversary of the first time we kissed. Mwah. It wasn't our wedding anniversary, but so I had this beautiful feeling as we were on stage together for an hour. I was like, this is a deep part of why we've come together. Like, I don't know, there was something that was really meaningful for me about that hour. And so I always ask him if he would be willing to share his poetry. And I specifically requested this one.
It's so nice of her to include me in these. So a few months ago, this poem came out of this event that I was part of a few months ago. A friend of mine has a backyard amphitheater, as most of us do, right? Yeah. So every few months he does something in his backyard, invites people over. And one thing that he likes to do is Shakespeare. He's a Shakespeareophile. And so he has people come in and perform scenes, little sonnets, whatever. And so I was part of that, and I asked my daughter Kate if she wanted to do something as well, not knowing how she'd respond. And of course, she jumped all over it. And then she forgot about it. Like 2 days before, she was like, "Well, you didn't tell me, And I said, "Well, okay." And then I figured it was all over. But then she memorized a piece of Midsummer Night's Dream, and completely stole the show. So this piece is about that, watching that. It's called I Watched My Daughter Perform Shakespeare. 5 years old. 5 years old, I watch Olivier's Hamlet on a black and white television. These words are true, I think. This is something real to remember. At 33, I walk around a lake, murmuring Hamlet's words into the ear of my tiny newborn daughter, Kate. 38 years, your words have run through me like a fever will, cut me like a chisel, inspired and infected me, real as any lover, each 10-beat line the curve of a hip, or a shoulder blade, or a leap into space, or the languid spiral of a spine. Today, Kate performs Helena. In a bookshelved library, behind her, through French doors, the rain falls in sheets. A tempest, 60 nervous guests sit. Your words flying across the screens of their minds like comets. Mark Antony prepares to sway the angry crowd. Lady Macbeth readies her husband's knife, and Kate breathes in that first impossible breath, like a newborn thrust into light. How happy some or other some can be. Through Athens I am thought as fair as she. Her little heart pounding along with the iambs, her blue eyes bright, her little body lines and yet no curves, the audience faces not painted actors' masks for once, but flowers inclining toward the sun. The real view is from up there on what your words can do to a human face, Will. Through Athens, I am thought as fair as she says, the words an ancient echo of the bone-real truth of them, and I say, stay here, you faces of lost souls, you mothers' faces gazing on new life, you pilgrims' faces looking on the promised land, stay here, don't forget again, I say, this is something real to remember. Through Athens, I am thought as fair as she. In my seat, again, I pray all I want for my daughter is a string of moments like this one, Will, of knowing and being known, her father, her children, her audience. That's enough. That's enough for a good life. And years from now, past volumes of lines she and I have yet to see or imagine, I'll squeeze her hand and say, remember, remember, remember that time it rained and you did Shakespeare in the library. Thank you. So carrying on the tradition, want to join me, Dylan? Next generation here. All right, you ready, Dylan?
Okay.
Okay, talk right into the mic.
Vacillation by William Butler Yeats. My 50th year had come and gone. I sat a solitary man in a crowded London shop. An empty cup, an open book on the marble table top. As on the shop and street I gazed, my body of a sudden blazed. In 20 minutes, more or less, it seemed so great my happiness that I was blessed and could bless.
Fantastic. Come on. Come on. You up next?
No.
Okay.
Oh, I love that. My 50th year. He was like, I want to do a poem. So he learned that one for all of you this morning. So now it's my total pleasure to introduce one more glorious musician, my dear friend Avi Summerland. And I want to read to you what she has on her About page because I think it says so much about her spirit. So, and some truths about her. She says, Avi Summerland is a lyric-driven songwriter and musician. You might find her on the sofa. Avi lives with a debilitating chronic illness that crushes her soul daily and interferes with her ability to play music for long periods of time. When she's not sulking about that, she likes to eat cookies and make up comedy sketches with her sister. And what I love about that is that Avi is one of the most prolific singer-songwriters that I know, and I've heard her play her music for years now, and it puts me to shame as an artist because she is in pain a lot of the time, and she is constantly generating new material about light and hope and sometimes naming the darkness, and I'm just so thrilled you're here, Avi. So come on up. She's going to sing us 2 songs.
Let's see. Very tall person was here. Is that the wrong knob? Wait 1 second. Check. Okay. And now I will just tune for 1 second. Pretend I'm not here. Lion shirts represent tonight, apparently. Yay! Hello. I'll make my eye contact now. I wanna cheer, I wanna kiss to make it better. I wanna hear sweet nothings whispered in my ear. I wanna feel some happy-go-lucky, the kind that makes it seem like it's gonna get better. I'm tired of the ups that only leave me down, wired by restlessness, only silenced by sound. Tell me, is there more to this? Can I get a little happiness? Can I get a little happiness? I think it's about time to find me a better way. Can I get a little happiness? I think it's about time to find me a better way. Needed a dream, but I settled for sleep. Closed my eyes hoping that I'd wake wiser. Followed a scene, but come to find there's no movie playing for me. I'm tired of the ups that only leave me down, wired by restlessness, only silenced by sound. Tell me, is there more to this? Can I get a little happiness? Can I get a little happiness? I think it's about time to find me a better way. Can I get a little happiness? I think it's about time to find me a better way. I gotta find me a better way. Wait and wait and wait. Either way, hope I'm okay. Wait and wait and wait. Keep my pulse up, hope it's not too late. Can I get a little happiness? I think it's about time to find me a better way. Can I get a little happiness? I think it's about time to find me a better way. I gotta find me a better way. I gotta find me a better way. Thank you. Thank you so much. Let me take a sip of water here. Look up in between stars, all my idols, all my love. Look up at the big sun, all of it hard won. Wasn't allowed to get loud enough. were the parts put in place. You know that hearts can be swayed, so turn it up. It's like a love song. I put it on and the words just come. It's like a love song. I put it on and the world stands still. It's like you're still here. And I feel new and connected to the beat in you. I feel new and connected to the beat in you. It's like I'm new. It's like I'm new. Look out for the B-sides. Sometimes they hide just out of sight. Go for the long play. Stack 'em up and stay up all night. On my mark, get steady. Push play and get ready to turn it up. It's like a love song. I put it on and the words just come. It's like a love song. I put it on and the world stands still. It's like you're still here. And I feel new and connected to the beat in you. I feel new and connected to the beat in you. It's like I'm new and connected to the beat in you. It's like I'm new. It's like I'm new. On my mark, get steady. Push play and get ready to turn it up. It's like a love song. I put it on and the words just come. It's like a love song. I put it on and the world stands still. It's like you're still here. It's like you're still here. And I feel new and connected to the beat in you. I feel new and connected to the beat in you. It's like I'm new and connected to the beat in you. It's like I'm new. 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 Thank you. Thank you.
Yay, so you can't make it work. There you go. All right, now, did I just loosen this? I did. Okay. I'm sort of curious if I can talk like that. I can do that. I can sort of talk off the side. Okay. Okay. Thank you, gorgeous musicians and poet friends. That was awesome. That was amazing beginning. So tonight we're going to talk about radiance. And we're going to talk about radiant living. And I want to get closer to you. There. So have any of you heard of this beautiful book? The Radiant Sutras. This, I swear to you, was gifted. It was gifted to me by my Australian friend who flew here for an Indiana retreat, which was awesome. And she handed me this and I said, this is going to be like a book that I have forever. And of course it has radiance in the title, so that's a no-brainer, but it's the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra and their early teachings on yoga meditation. They were first discovered in 800 AD in Kashmir, but they were probably orally, passed on before then. They're just exquisitely, exquisitely beautiful. And I couldn't think of a better way to sort of start our evening together than read you one of these. And to me, and these are all practices. They're poems. I mean, he wouldn't even say they're poems, but to me they're poems. But they're deep practices and invitations about how we can live our life. Live for a few days in the meditation. I am immersed in the flame of time, the flame of love, the flame of life. The universal fire flows through me. Step into that fire wholeheartedly, starting with the big toe, then surrendering everywhere. Only the not-self, which doesn't exist anyway, burns away. Attend to this continually and awaken into tranquility. Your essence is renewed in the flame, for it is flame and knows itself as flame since the first heartbeat of creation. And I could just sit and read them to you all night, but to me, when I think of radiance, I think early in my life, I thought, radiance, shine, shine, shine. It's very Leo, right? It's like, I'm a sun, I'm blazing out towards you. But tonight, I really want to talk to you about the fact that there's an excavation into the essential self. There's it's more like burn, 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 or shed, 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 or peel, 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 or sob, 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 until you get to this essential flame that is always burning. And there's something that is more humbling about that path. And there's something that's softer about that path. And there's something that is quieter about that path. So that radiance becomes you being more and more who you are through a stripping away, and that I just feel your emanation and light and flame upon being with you without any excess efforting or doing or putting, shining forth, right? So I think this discovery for me, or this ongoing discovery, because whenever I go back and read old journals, I'm always discovering the same things over and over again. For over 20 years, I'm discovering the same things over and over again, but I'm discovering them in a deeper way, right? I'm just having this flashback of doing a monologue when I was like 16 years old, and it was the Lily Tomlin's one-woman show, and there was this flighty aerobics instructor who was like, I'm confused in a deeper way. And I was like, yeah, I used to. Anyway, so this all began very recently. A couple of weeks ago, I was in Indiana doing a retreat, And it was a very intimate retreat. There were only 8 women there. And what happened is that I got to participate a lot more in this retreat. I asked myself to show up in the same way that I asked the women to show, which I usually do, but I also have to hold it when it's a larger group. And in this case, I felt also mutually held, and there was a lot going on where I was just able to do the exercises with them. So they all left except for 3 women. My friend Elizabeth from Brooklyn, with whom I do these retreats, my friend Dean, who is from Australia and had flown in to do the retreat, and my friend Patrice, who was hosting the retreat at her house at this big, beautiful old mansion. And they were those 3 particular women that were there in the dining room. We all had lunch together. And what happened, it was almost like it was this old mansion. The mayor had built it in 1900, and all the beautiful original woodwork was there. I mean, it was truly gorgeous. And you walked into it and you felt like you should have a long dress, and you felt like there were ghosts behind you, and you felt like, like the space was imbued with history. And we were sitting at the dining room table where there was like a little pump that you could call the servants, and there was like the liquor area. And I felt like I was in Downton Abbey or something, wrong country, but, that kind of feeling. In any case, I felt myself softening and softening and softening, and sort of like the relief of finishing a retreat. And I found myself, I wish I could tell you exactly what happened, because I don't even know what happened. But I found myself sharing some truths in me that I had not given voice to, at least in a very long time, and that had started to become in my head like, you could never give voice to that. Or that's so broken, or you'll never fix that, so why would you possibly want to articulate it? And I think it started with me praising one of the women and just being like, oh, you're so beautiful and receiving and intimate and connected. And I found myself offering that praise to her, and then feeling a kind of lack within my own self. I felt this I felt part of my ongoing journey is how to quiet down enough to fully replenish and receive beauty that's being offered, because I feel, in my life, beauty is there are waves of beauty that are being offered in many forms, and how to quiet down enough from the frantic pace to just actually bodily, emotionally receive. And even giving you these words, it's not enough. Like, I can't explain what I was able to articulate, but I was able to articulate something where I just started sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. And then I started laughing. And then the woman across the table from me, Dean, kept nodding with a little smile and like, keep going, keep going. And Elizabeth sort of made these sounds that were almost like the sounds she made when she was with me when I was giving birth, which was just like little quiet, encouraging sounds, like, sort of like that, like, keep going. And Patrice was sort of over in the corner, like trying to figure out when she was going to come over and put her hands on my shoulders or something, and quiet, because she's an amazing body worker, right? So I kept on looking up, and these 3 women were really midwifing me into this new era. And I don't know if you've had the experience of that. I also would say to you, I have such dear women in my life that since then I've been thinking, like, of all the many 3 women that could have been there. Do you know what I mean? Like, any number of 3 women could have been there and midwifed me into this experience. And that 3 is such a potent number, right? It's so potent. It's the Trinity, and I just felt held by this triangle. So I will just say that at the end of that, for an entire day, I was just incredibly soft and vulnerable. And usually my friend Elizabeth is the one that is kind of emotionally like, wah, and I'm like, I will drive you where you need to go, and what do you need next? And I'm like this. And she drove the entire way, and I was like, let's go to my uncle's house where I used to go visit 25 years ago. We went to visit old, homes that I had visited with my dear relatives, and I listened to music. I'm not very good at like listening to music, and in the car, I mostly want to just have serious conversations and turn down that music, But for whatever reason, that whole next day, I said, we're doing Freaky Friday, Elizabeth, right? Because we were being one another in a way. All this is to say, that was a long story, to tell you that this first poem is called With Open Hands. And it's the best that I can do capturing that experience of being midwifed. And I want you to feel into those moments in your life where one person or three people or a group of people have held you as you burned closer to your essential self, as you shed something that you no longer needed to carry, as you gave words to a truth that was clamping down in you and holding you back. So with open hands. When all leave and three remain, the time comes to lay it down. The first words turn fissure to crack, and the earth of me yields. All inner doors open, spilling and softening, caught and held by three midwives. The room fills with light that comes when truths are told. Each feminine grace with eyes ablaze whispers to press forward. I struggle into a clearing, a tender vastness, empty and burning, with open hands. And I honestly feel in some ways still in that place of a tender vastness with open hands. Because what, open hands are, I don't know how they will be filled. It's like, I don't know. And it could be, I don't know, or it could be, I don't know. Like, I don't know. And so it feels to me, and many artists in this room, it feels to me like the creative process is always going through that dark time to birth, and midwives may assist you or not, but how we birth ourselves into our essential raw self again and again. And it's an incredibly vulnerable thing. And every part of me after that afternoon just wanted to be like, shouldn't I get it together, But I was also wise enough with myself and compassionate enough with myself to say, no, this is a time not to get it together. This is actually what this is all about. This is a necessary crumbling. This is a necessary falling apart. And this is creating a freedom. And if there's any other theme tonight, and maybe in my work in general, it's about creating the freedom necessary to really experience our most essential self. Like our essential self is free. That's what it is. It's just a free, beautiful, radiant, creative, unobstructed energy that is free. So what do? We find all the ways to clamp down. We find all the ways to shut it down. We find all the way, that we have the pain and the fear that builds. And so constantly, every day is a kind of excavation through that, and a shedding, and a meditation on being the flame. Yeah. So if ever there comes a moment when the time comes to lay it down and you're in good company, and we know what it is to be in good company, I encourage you to seize the day and, to just allow it, and not know what it may transform into. So one of my poems that I wrote a while ago is called Freedom Carver, which some of you may have heard. But this is in a new, it's in a new context in a way, this poem, because with open hands, there was nothing to do, really. There was nothing to do but keep speaking the truth. There was nothing to do but trying to keep my heart open and not close it. There was nothing to do but be raw and messy and vulnerable and available. There was nothing to do. Sometimes there is something to do in terms of I need to carve away, and maybe this is my usual mode, is to be more of a carver, like I'm gonna get to the bottom of this if it kills me, you know? But this insistence that it's not okay, it's not okay with me to live like this, whatever it is, on any given morning, when I know that there's another choice, when I know that I have the tools to lean in a little closer to who I want to be. And those of you that have known me for a while know I'm a big advocate of sort of naming the darkness and naming the heaviness and just whatever big mess comes out of your mouth, sort of name it and then find your way to the freedom. So this is called Freedom Carver. And by the way, just like the first two lines, you know, it's just all the layers that we put on ourselves when in fact there's just this beautiful throne, this beautiful flame, this beautiful radiance that is ever burning. So the many things that we carry. Heart heavy, cloak of futility, mine. I curl up, give up, offer up an endless sigh. Brimming tears, nowhere to go, a glimpse in the rearview mirror, all I see is lost time. Today, foolish for even having a dream, done, wrung out, full up to my eyes in the repetition of a responsible life. Carrying some old pain yet to put down, the ancient familiar whispers in my ear, this is who you are, serious girl. This is who you are, refusing light's kiss. This is who you are, costumed, festooned, wanting to be something you're not. Ah, yes, this place, its intractable grip. And still, I know this. I'm a freedom carver, and words are my sharpened edge. Reaching for my pen is like reaching for the moon this far from grace, but I will summon every last shred of hope I have to fly in the face of this sorrow. Michelangelo set loose the soul in stone, cutting away all that imprisoned life. I will write again and again, carving through the hardened crust of self-negated to the molten lava love core with a headlamp and an inky pickaxe and the certainty, yes, tasted, that everything that isn't love is just waiting to become it, melting into the center of itself. I will carve out what isn't mine, filling pages with black ink, mouthing the words that require the breath, that move the body somewhere new, and burn away the dross as I stand as love at the center of the page and watch well-worn sorrow eaten by this fiery dance. I get a little feisty. Thank you, guys. Right? I mean, you know, if you're an artist, if you're an artist and you have a tool that you are working with, that you have to work with, then when you are miserable, get that tool in your hand. Go into the kitchen at midnight, grab the pen, sing in the shower, whatever it is, grab that tool and work it. Because that's what we do. That's what we do. And I am a big advocate, speaking at the time of Leo, that we are all artists of our lives. So it doesn't matter if you have a medium, just choose one. You know, milk cows. I don't, you know, whatever it is. But for me, this phrase in the poem, Michelangelo set loose the soul in stone. Remember, there's a sculpture that he particularly said that he was carving away until the figures emerged. Does anyone know what that was? It was David? It was David? Okay, so yeah, that he was just carving it away and there was David. I mean, this is the perfect metaphor for what we're talking about tonight, is that, yeah, there's all this stone around you, but are you going to carve away and chip away or burn quietly until it just melts off of you? Are you going to do that so that you get to have the experience of the liberated, free, essential, juicy, spontaneous, yummy self? And so that yummy self can then meet another yummy self who, I've been reading John O'Donohue, I've been reading his book, Ahamkara, which means soul friend. So are you going to meet a soul friend? Are you going to meet another soul friend with your essential self? Are you going to be able to speak in a different way than you would normally speak, right? We all grow tired of this level. I like to drop down if possible. So I think part of the reason why I loved this book so much is that they're sutras, they're practices, they're tangible. And I sort of have realized that my poetry a lot of times is an invitation to practice. That you might get some marching orders, or you might get some softening orders. You know what I mean? But mostly for myself, not you go do this, right? But they're instructions and offerings to myself to navigate this life. And sometimes it's as simple as just growing quiet, and sometimes it's as simple as taking a deep breath, and sometimes it's simple as sitting in a chair and looking at a beloved, and it can be so simple, but we have to remind ourselves to do these things. So this poem is a huge reminder for me, and it's kind of a celebration, and it's a contemplation, and it's a practice, and it's an introduction to how I like to think about the heart, and that's my favorite organ. And I was thinking about the Grinch. You know how the Grinch, his heart grew 3 sizes that day. Remember that? Well, our heart, I think, is one of the organs that, though may deteriorate in a lifetime, has the greatest capacity to continue energetically to grow in its presence and impact throughout your entire life, so that your radiance factor can be much greater by the time you're done than it was when you started. That's what we hope. So this poem came out of a moment when my beloved friend and teacher, Sophia Diaz, she started talking about the plane of the heart. And I was like, the plane of the heart? What the plane of the heart? Because I always thought about chakras, think about energy centers, it's right there, blah, 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 blah. But she was talking about the plane of the heart. She was talking about my heart is at the fence. She was talking about 360. And I started to say to myself, that's a revelation, and I love that idea, and I'm going to live that idea as much as I can over the next rest of my life. So, over the next rest of my life. So, this poem I had a little fun with, and I'll just do it, and we'll see if I make it through. Don't think of your heart as lodged in your chest, pumping away with never a rest. Think of it this way, or better yet, feel it. The heart is a plane, and feeling reveals it. It's a vast field of grace, beyond time, beyond space, reaching out and extending, love never ending, no boundary or limit. It lives you, you live it. Soak in its sweetness, sheer completeness. Don't abstract it, contract it. Just stand in stillness, arms extended, nourished by its nectar. Conduct the heat, feel the beat, be a love detector, reflector, projector, connector. Let it eat you, devour you whole, dissolve in the light, a radiant soul. We live in a world that dismisses the subtle. What we feel, sense, intuit is lost in the shuffle. Reclaim it, sustain it, stop, stand, and feel. You're held aloft by that plane, and the heart plane is real. Feel the sensation on your lips, on your fingertips, compassion shining from your hips. Drip with love, soak in it, saturate, steep, then offer that love. Let your whole body weep. Wake up to what's real. And what's real is this: The heart rules the queendom. The heart, love, and bliss. Everything that's not bliss, it's what's leaving you now. You're shaking, you're sobbing. Let your body allow something much greater to live you today. Open it up, find a new way. Know you are vast and that love doesn't cease. It cascades from your heart as you stand and increase the peace. I love that image. Sophia always used to say, give me your troubles. I will eat them. I will eat your troubles. I just loved that. So, like, can you imagine somebody being like, give me every single one of your troubles and I'm going to devour them? Wouldn't that be wonderful? I aspire to that. By the end of my life, I want to be able to devour your troubles. And I mean, but I think that's possible because let it eat you, devour you whole. That's the flame again, guys. That's the flame that is burning. That's the invocation to the fire that burns away everything that isn't you, that burns away the not self, that burns away the pain. So let it eat you, devour you whole. Everything that's not bliss, it's what's leaving you now. What if you just lived like that? Oh, that's not bliss, but it's leaving me. Oh, that's kind of crappy, but it's leaving me. It's leaving you. With every exhale, you have the capacity to have it leave you. Everything that's not bliss, it's what's leaving you now. You might be shaking like I was shaking in the dining room. You might be shaking, you might be sobbing, but you might stay open to something greater to live you. Only in that vulnerability can you allow something greater to live you. So just play with that image for yourself over the next week, the plane of the heart, like all the way to Burbank, right? And I just have to say this phrase because every time I talk about the plane of the heart, this phrase comes to me. It's a Tibetan phrase where it says, the plane of the heart is or something, the heart of a woman is a plane upon which a horse can run. Okay, but I also think the heart of a man, I do think that. It just so happens that the Tibetan talks about women. But honestly, like, think about that power. Think about that ferocity of love that's possible. Are we happy? So, okay, this poem, I do have to laugh when I go back and look through my poems. And I did recently have the chance to do like I recorded a whole bunch of my poems. I think I recorded like 25 of my poems over 2 days and with a little crew. And I kept on just laughing to myself about like, do you get it? I mean, like my themes are kind of like, I think it's really clear how I think about the world, you know? And certain phrases that just keep coming up again and again. So we had Freedom Carver, but we also have Freedom Yet to Find. And this poem the title came out of a coffee that I had with my friend Val. And she actually said something like, she did say this, I totally stole it from her. She's like, if there is freedom to find, I am going to find it. Do you know, like, if there's any freedom yet to find, I'm going to find it. And I was like, excuse me, I need to go write that down. I have a poem to write, you know, so but this idea of, I think we can get so numb, bored, gray, comatose. I think we can get repetitive about our life, right? So occasionally you just have to go and claim your life. You have to go and claim it like a wild thing. And this was a poem. You can see, like, the first poem with Open Hands was a very different experience for me. But with, you know, generally this feeling of, like, you have to claim the freedom of yourself, and you have to put yourself on the journey to find new freedom. And I actually recently had this, my daughter Kate is going to fly to the East Coast by herself 2 days after she turns 12 in about 3 weeks. And for some of you, you're like, yeah, she's going to fly across. But for me, I'm putting my daughter on a plane for the first time. And I never would have suggested it, except that I know that Kate has freedom yet to find. And she's like, Mom, when are you going to let me do this? Because she's so eager for the adventure, right? So I had to face this, like, over, this protective, this terror, this fear in myself in order to set her free, which was my own little indication that perhaps I should live that a little myself. So it's an amazing practice. Like for me, I don't know about the rest of you, but for me, like every goodbye is like, I'm probably not going to see you again. I mean, like I'm always in this strange mode, particularly with my family. That's like, go off kayaking on the lake. Farewell. It was a lovely life together. I mean, it's ridiculous. And every flight I take and every flight they take, and every time Kate rides around the block, I'm like, okay. So anyway, that's a glimpse of my inner life. But so this one is just like Freedom Yet to Find. Okay. And by the way, I do talk about a peacock eating red ants. Did you know that peacocks can eat red ants, which are poisonous creatures, and they're completely unaffected? They just gobble them up, and they just look more beautiful after eating all the red ants. Okay, so that's important to know. If there's a shred, ounce, scrap, swath, field of freedom yet to find, set me on that course, put me on that plane, though fear of flight reduces me to quivering flesh. I will board, lunge from boredom, assume makeshift wings, say farewell to what's known, invite the impossible, the implausible, the improbable. If there's a pool, galaxy, snippet, cup of freedom yet to find, bring it to my lips, let me drink, though I may shrink, stumble, or disappear. I will consume what scares me and know the magic of peacock who gobbles red ant poison but walks unscathed as beauty. What is known is always knocking. You do not have to answer. Fling open the back door to the yes of unspeakable light and boundless time. The invitation ever exists. If there is a hint, whiff, touch, whisper of freedom yet to find, ready your ship, let the winds blow, refuse the map of discovered worlds. Let love be your compass, set sail. Yeah, so just sometimes you have to claim it. Claim it. And honestly, what I do find that I write these poems and then I learn how to live them. And sometimes when I read a poem after I've written it, I'm like, I am such a fraud. I get up in the morning and drink coffee and start thinking about, whatever it is. I mean, like, I get up, I feel like, I'm not doing any of that. What am I doing? But poems for me are like knocks on the door, are invitations, are beckonings, are offers about how you could live your life. And so poems that I've lived with a long time, I start to go, oh, wait a second, that's changed. I'm starting to do that. I wrote it so that I'll start to live differently. And, that poem, I still have a ways to go. But I think that's really interesting when you have that kind of, if you have a reaction to something like, I could never do that. I often ask the women that come to my retreats to just read a poem to themselves out loud over and over again and just experience it and let it be a guide and see if you start to live your life a little differently, because a line of poetry might be in your head and you're like, oh, put me on that plane, or whatever it is. And the known is always knocking. It's always knocking. I mean, I hide sometimes when somebody's knocking at the front door, except we have a little window in it, so it's terrible. I am always discovered. Okay, this is a new poem. It was originally called Rage, but now it's called Collie on Hold. Okay? And this is a big experiment in my life, because this was a thing where I started to be like quietly like, but it was quiet. It was like quiet, and it was so quiet that I could be like this, and it was still and so I was like, you know what? I'm going to exaggerate that. I'm going to magnify that, and I'm going to see what happens. Because if you can, I'm not a very raging person in general. I aspire to be raging. as you'll see, but not really. But this is a permission poem. It's exaggerate. It's an invitation to exaggerate that in your life that will set you free. Oh, what's up there? A mouse? Last summer was a mockingbird. Oh, that's awful. Okay. So that's fascinating, actually. Is it on, where is it like behind? Okay. There's a rat in the tree. There was a what does that mean? That it was a rat and there was a mockingbird. Am I going downhill? Okay. Okay. So, okay. Collie on hold. It is buried somewhere at the back of my throat and under my left breast and in the deepest pit of an invisible second stomach. It is metallic and cuts at everything I half do, disgusted with wilting normalcy. I am a vagabond yokini trapped in a suburban smile. I am a tattooed 24-year-old hipster tiptoeing through life at twice that age. I press the mute button just before it gets juicy. My motherfucker is lodged behind a tonsil. I am furiously holding myself back. Talk a good game and live bound and gagged. I am collie on hold, terrified, restless, imploding. What's a girl to do who's here to be fierce but finds herself setting the table? Do not ask me for the story. This is how it feels. Even the word rage is unacceptable, too hot, unpredictable, dangerous. The Tasmanian devil, my favorite as a child, but a wild, flailing tantrum, never in my life. I need to break plates, hold a jackhammer, spew, scream no, draw the line, fuck it. Let this page teach my body the yes of opening to the mess of everything. No longer tentative, but fiercely devouring, fiercely demanding what is beautiful, what is alive, what is true. That was a little surprising, right? Just a little surprising, maybe? Yeah, I mean, invitation to exaggerate it. Invitation to magnify when you're feeling good. Like, even with your body, invitation to magnify that, and invitation to magnify it when you're feeling crappy. And hopefully not directed, you know, I mean, ideally, you're a little bit conscious or conscientious about how that's put forth, you know, it's not deposited on someone, but you know, so you can rage in a backyard by yourself. Yeah. So just a couple more poems for you. And this one, I think this one's Avi's favorite. I haven't read this one in a long time, but it harkens back to the first poem, harkens back to that, which is my journey is always, and maybe a lot of you can relate to this, which is like I'm either over-efforting, you know, I'm either on masculine on, you know, high gear, right, just pounding it out, or I'm completely depleted and, you know, sick and exhausted. And what I'm learning in my life, and all of us, men or women, can learn how to work with the feminine energy in a more compassionate way. What I'm learning is how to be with open hands, be quieter within myself, know when to lay down, know when to create space, create time for myself. So I'm still on the seesaw ride. Maybe I'm getting a little bit better. Maybe it's not as extreme, but I'm still on the seesaw ride of, you know, over-efforting, and then a little bit of practice, and hey, I did that pretty well. And then, no, I didn't. But, you know, I mean, it's, you gotta celebrate the small victories. That's another of my latest decisions. You just really have to celebrate the most minute victory with like full joy, like what you would be like, oh, well, I just did that, but really to celebrate it. So this is about, sometimes it's about listening and laying your body down, and it's called I Who Love Mountains and All They Signify. I who love mountains and all they signify find sanctuary in valleys, where quiet truths are echoed back from mountainsides. I ask a question and reflection careens off the sides of earth, allowing my breath to steady and body to calm. Here in the valley, closer to the beat of the heart of the earth, I hear the essential. I who love mountains and all they signify, choose here to lay the earth of my body on the body of the earth in this sanctuary of silence. And only in this deep surrender is the scent of a great ascent yet to come. I just did a chart for a woman, and actually I have to say that it's a very common theme. I just did a chart for a woman who's been an amazing, amazing businesswoman her whole life, climbed every mountain, true Capricorn, climbed every mountain, and is now in one of the most surrendered, unknown, lost, who am I places that she could possibly be. And she came in to talk about that, and I'm like, this is wonderful. And she's like, really? Because it doesn't feel that way. But, she's in that time when she just needs to lay her body on the body of the earth and listen. Yeah. So, this last poem is a new poem as well. I like to be able to say that, some new poems. And I didn't even have to go away by myself to write them. I'm learning how to write them in the thick of everything, which is a small victory. Because I used to have to go and lock myself away for 2 days and say goodbye to my family. And, now I'm just practicing writing in the thick of everything. So we all went to Long Island to visit Andrew's parents in Long Island. And at one point, I just went off on a walk. I needed to go on a walk. And I was walking down this little path, and I swear it was like, what was that show? Do you remember Wild Kingdom, like 30 years ago? That's that just came to me. But it was like this, the natural world was like presenting itself like a buck, like burst out of the bushes, and little rabbits sort of skipped by. It was Bambi or something, I don't know. And black-winged, or no, what are they called? Red-winged blackbird and a white egret. I mean, it was ridiculous by the end of the walk, the wildlife that I had observed. But particularly the birds. And of course, I'm walking along, and I start thinking about my mother, because for my entire childhood, my mother would always point out the birds. Oh, look, chickadee, red-winged blackbird. There was once in our Fargo, North Dakota backyard, an owl on the branch, right outside our window. And as long as I can remember, that was one way that she would share beauty with me. And as I was walking, I was like, why am I feeling so, soft about my mama right now? And I was realizing it was because I was like, almost to myself, like, look at that, oh, look at that, and wanting to share it with her. And I really started to feel this, this lineage about how in our family, we are women who name the beauty, even through the pain, and I would ask that of all of you, like, what is the lineage, what is the texture of your family, or what is the essential burning self of the lineage of your family? And I think it has something to do with naming beauty in my family in very, very, very different ways, But another story about my mom is that when her mother was sick in Florida, her 4 sisters, they all went, and 3 of her sisters started making meals and sweeping the floor and doing all the da-da-da-da. And my mother went out to the mailbox where there was a faded cardinal on the side of the mailbox, and she went and bought red paint, and she painted the cardinal again. And that was what she knew she had to do and could do. That was her gift. So I was thinking of her, and this poem came out of that. It's called Lineage of Beauty. She, the daughter who brings to life a fading cardinal with a brush of red on the wing. The bright bird now sings on the side of her mother's weathered mailbox. She, the daughter whose eye insists on beauty, wants her mother to see again the good cheer, apple red hope of spring. I, the daughter of she who paints the red bird, hears her delight in all that fly. Look here, she says quickly, goldfinch, blue jay, red-winged blackbird. Don't let beauty pass without your notice. White egret, red-tailed hawk, nutcracker, chickadee. She, the daughter of one who yearned for flight but couldn't leave. I, the daughter of one who loves Amelia, she who dared to fly. My daughter, the one who stands in a lineage of women, women who name the beauty that sets us free, now discovering her own unbridled vastness in which to fly. I just think there's tremendous power in naming beauty. Whether it's, as someone walks towards you, whether you're sharing it with a beloved, there's tremendous power and freedom in naming beauty. And the idea that our hearts can grow 3 sizes in a lifetime or in a minute makes me very happy. So, I think that's what I have to say to you tonight, my friends, and I'm so glad that you came, and I'm so glad that it was a night of such beautiful music and poetry, and I'm so appreciative of your willingness to come and receive and be open and join me for these offerings. So much love to you. Mwah. And have some wine and some jam. Yummy things left. Yes.